Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Knowledge and Relationships Live Talk. This is your boy M3, and I have a very special guest, and I'm so happy to have this live talk with her. Also, shout outs to Mr. AR for introducing us to this lovely lady, Miss Coach Oriana. How you doing, Coach Oriana?
Hi, I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me, M3. I appreciate it. This should be a fun conversation.
Oh yes, definitely indeed. Part of our live talks, it may seem like it's an interview, but honestly, we're just having like a 1v1 conversation and just getting to know you.
Yeah, let's do it.
Sometimes, like, my crewmates, they do come along and they join into the conversations. But for now, um, I'm definitely pleased to, like, talk about some things. First, I'm gonna ask you, like, a simple question because uh, people do find this question pretty challenging, and others are like, okay, whatever. But let me go ahead and pull this up. The first question is, if you don't mind, can you please tell us about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Oriana. I go by Coach Oriana online, so you can find me at Coach Oriana. That's my handle on all platforms. I'm mostly active on Instagram, but I am a
Mhm.
personal performance and executive coach. I support people to be able to transform their mindset so that they can become healthier and live a better life, have better relationships. I'm also a certified relationship coach. So when it comes to personal performance and helping people improve through higher performance, it's really about relationships, their relationship to different aspects of their life. So when we think about relationships, a lot of people just think other people, how we interact
Okay.
with other people. But your relationship with yourself is an even more important relationship than the relationship you have with other people. Your relationship with money, your relationship with your business,
Okay.
your relationship with the world, right? And
Mm-hmm.
all of those different types of relationships make up what I call your
Mm.
personal ecosystem. So the healthier you can get your personal ecosystem, the better you can show up in your life, relationships, career, your health, your business, your marriage with your kids, right? In every aspect. And that's really what it's about.
Okay, that is definitely wonderful because when people hear the word relationships, the
Mhm.
first thing they always think is, okay, men and women hooking up, getting together, dating, marriage, but then they also skip the most essential part into it. And that the fact that relationships, excuse me, is universal. It doesn't always have to be about um, just men and women. It's pretty much whatever you are attached to.
Yeah,
Like you mentioned,
yeah,
like money. It could be like your job. It could be something that really inspires you. It could be something that's spiritual. But relationships
absolutely.
really tie in a lot of things. And especially when it comes to friendship. If we go back to talking about people, which I feel like that's another essential part that people really miss out on. But we're gonna
Mhm.
get to that in a minute. But first, I gotta give shout outs to the people who's already ready to give, like, support to you. So I have to, like, go ahead and shout outs to Mr. He Said and She Said, Harris Tribe family. So let's see, guys. Thank you for tuning in.
Look,
Uh, and then Forever Lisa, thank you for tuning in. I definitely appreciate you for tuning in to Knowledge and Relationships on YouTube. She says, hello, Knowledge Relationships made it to live. Yes, yes. And I'm definitely forever grateful for that. And she says, I am here listening, getting ready for work at the moment. And then she also says, hello, Ariana.
hello, Forever Lisa.
And then Mr. He Says, She says, school him, coach. Definitely. And then shout outs to Knowledge Relations own Mr. Stan the Man, Stan Joseph. So
Hi,
thank you
Stan.
for tuning in as well. Appreciate you guys. Everybody, please get the likes up. Share this video to also help support Coach Ariana as well too, as we're getting to know her for the first time in this platform. So, um, okay. So my other question, right, Coach Ariana, is what inspired you to be a relationships coach?
Mm. Yeah, I think a lot of that had to do with my own experience with relationships, including my struggles, right? Like a lot of people will say, like, well, if you're a relationship coach, does that mean that all of your relationships are perfect? I'm like, no, no way, far from it. My relationships haven't always been perfect, but I've had to do the work, right? Mostly the work inside of myself to be able to improve my relationships with people that were struggling, and also to be able to get out of relationships that were not good for me anymore, that were
Mm,
unhealthy or even toxic relationships. So I had to do that work within myself,
yeah.
heal from that, right? Forgive those people, forgive myself for accepting bad behavior in my relationships.
Mm,
And then it wasn't until that point that I moved to a place where I could really feel very competent supporting other people to do some of those same things. But as far as like professionally goes, I've always been in people fields and the relationship fields, I guess, if you really want to think about it. My background professionally, I spent about 15 years in human resources and leadership development and organizational development in business, before I ended up leaving to start my own coaching practice. So I did a lot of coaching and consulting when I was in the workforce. And
mm,
then I just thought to myself, you know what? I need to be able to do this. I need to be able to help people in a way that's not restricted.
right.
And the only way that I could do that was if I worked for myself. And so that was the leap I made in 2018. So I'm about 4 years into my own coaching.
Hey, well, definitely congratulations because a lot of times, us as human beings, once we get complacent at a certain job or organization, we just we're just so afraid to take ourselves out and go to the next step, you
Right.
know, and I understand because people are definitely afraid of the uncertainty, the unseen. But if you have a vision, it's kind of like this book that's called the Laws of Attraction.
Hmm.
Like it's almost like you have to really believe in your ability to like advance, to do
Right.
something greater in life. And I feel like that's what a lot of people they miss out on because of that fear that captivates them.
Mm.
Um, they miss out on true happiness besides just monetary gains.
Yeah, I mean, in the very least, when that fear takes over, we most certainly end up missing out on opportunities to step into and experience ourselves as a powerful being, right? As
Hmm.
in a more expanded version of yourself, right? Who can come face to face with fear and say yes anyway, take action anyway, right? So
Hmm.
a lot of people will think like, well, leaving your career and starting your own business, that's really a scary thing to do. Uh, yes, even as much as you plan for it, and I would say like you have to have an exit plan from the workforce, and you have to set yourself up for success, right? To do that,
Hmm.
it can be scary, but if you have a plan and you get ready for it, and you maybe even work with somebody like a business coach to help you set yourself up to be able to make the jump, you can do it, and you can do it well. Doesn't mean you're not going to be afraid. It just means the fear is telling you do things to prepare, right? Don't do this
Yeah.
in an uninformed way, right? Like set
Right.
yourself up, get information, learn. That's what fear is telling you. It's not most of the time fear isn't saying don't do it. Most
Hmm.
of the time fear is just saying you don't know enough about what you want. Find information first before you take action. I think
You know
anybody
what?
could do it.
Yeah, it's just all about like proper preparation and just being allowing yourself to set yourself up for victory.
Right.
So I like that type of perspective about fear. It doesn't mean it's like, okay, don't achieve your dreams, your aspirations, but think about the possibilities. But first, it's like a caution. You know what I mean? Take caution before you take a leap at anything. You know.
Absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
gotta give a shout outs to the people that's in the chat. Shout outs to Marcus. Thank you for tuning in. Marcus
Right.
says shout outs to National Relationships, M3TV Network, Stan Joseph, Forever Lisa, the Intellectual SoapBox, Coach Oriana, DJ Eddie King. Shout outs and salutes to the panel and chat. Thank you, Marcus, for tuning in. I always appreciate you for doing so. And then also shout outs to the lovely OG Patrice from Straight Up No Chaser Talk. And she says, greetings and salutations, family. As
Right.
always, we always appreciate your presence, OG Patrice. Salute. Okay. And thank you, Forever Lisa, for sharing this video. Like I said, everyone, please like share the videos because it brings more attention. It helps the algorithm for YouTube, and it brings people over to subscribe to, which we'll talk about your YouTube channel next, Miss Ariana. But it helps support Coach Ariana as well too. And then she says, I'm not a coach, but I do discuss on relationships on my channel. I went through a lot in my marriage. Some is my fault and others is his fault. Okay.
Yeah. Like you could tell she's learned a lot by how she talks.
Mm-hmm. And
Got
thank
it.
you for being transparent for it, Lisa. Yeah. And then she says, yes, I agree. And then also, everybody, if you guys feel free to want to donate, donate to the Cash App, the PayPal, and the Venmo. Other than that, subscribing to Knowledge Relations on YouTube is absolutely for free and getting likes up as well. All right. Okay, so Coach Ariana, what motivated you to join social media? And I'll let you shout out like your channel as well.
Yeah, so I have two channels. So I'm Coach Oriana on YouTube, but I also have a podcast that I have a co-host for named Daniel Tribby. He's also a coach. The podcast is called The Edgy Entrepreneur. So if you search
Mhm.
Edgy Entrepreneur on YouTube, or you can watch it. But if you'd rather just listen, it's available on every audio only podcast platform too: Apple, Spotify, Google, all of them. And we talk heavy on relationships, and we talk about how it impacts your business, how your relationship with yourself is going to show up in your relationships with other people, in your relationship with your money. And we're really getting deep on some topics that I think a lot of people either don't talk about in as much depth as we do, or maybe in some ways don't really want to touch. So it's a little edgy, a little smart. So for those of
Yeah.
you out there who are looking for something like that, we got it for you on the Edgy Entrepreneur. And you can also find Edgy Entrepreneur on Instagram. You can connect to it through my Instagram, which is where I post the most, at Coach Oriana on IG. You can also visit my website. It's coachoriana.com.
Okay, nice. And then my other question too, like continuing with your social media. Now, like, how long did it take for you to build such a following on your IG network?
Yeah, yeah. So it takes, I think people should expect to take longer the less certain you are about what you're doing
Mm-hmm.
and who you serve, right? So if you come out the gate, and you're really certain about, like, this is what I do, this is who I do it for, this is how I work, this is how to work with me, what I offer, you can build your following a lot faster than if you have uncertainty. But even if you
Hmm.
have uncertainty, if you feel like you have a message that you want to share with the world, just start putting it out there, right? Just start talking in front of a camera. Don't wait until your message is absolutely perfect by your own standards, because your standards for perfection are probably really high because you're putting
Yeah.
those on yourself,
Hmm.
and also because you're probably avoiding getting into your fear, right? And so
Yeah.
if you feel like you have a message for the world on your heart and you want to get it off and you want to say it to somebody, but you're not really even sure who this message is for, just start talking because those people will find you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So there's kind of like two camps, right? The person who's like really clear on like, this is exactly what I want to say and who I want to say it to, and it's for these reasons. Just go out there. You're going to blow it out of the water, right? But I'm also saying, right, listen to me carefully. Even if you're not that person, but you got a strong message on your heart that God's calling you to talk about, just go talk about it. And then your people, the people who need to hear that, the people who resonate with that message, they will come to you. All you have to do is be receptive to receiving who those people are. So I'll give you an example. When I first started coaching, I had decided in my mind that I was going to work with couples. And that
Okay.
was the thing for me. I wanted to help couples like restore their relationships and really become, you know, powerful within the context of relationship. But I was not attracting couples in my work, in my networking, through my message. It
Mm.
was really rare for even people who were married or in relationships to come to me and say, I want me and my wife or husband want to work with you. It often was just one of them who wanted to work with me or single people who wanted to work with me. And
Okay.
so, just a few months in, it occurred to me that I'm not being called to work with couples. That's not who I'm meant to work with because that's not who's I'm attracting, right? See, my mind made that choice, but spiritually, the calling on your life is the calling on your life, and that's what's going to come to you whether you like it or not, right?
Right.
So I kind of found myself like, okay, I could tell these people, multiple people that are like, hey, I'm not part of a couple, but will you still work with me? Right? Like, I could
Mm-hmm.
say no to that abundance and just be like, no, I only work with couples, right? And then when I'm looking over here, there ain't no couples in line waiting to work with me. They're not asking me to work with them. Like, there's nobody there, right? So the
Mm-hmm.
only thing that makes sense is for me to come to the conclusion, oh wait, okay, hold on, like let me listen to what's happening in here, right? Instead of this.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just gotta drop down into your heart and go, okay, I think God's calling me to do something else. I think God's calling me to work with either single people or in the very least with individuals. And so that's how I ended up working first with individuals, male and female, and now
Mm.
over time, I've as God has continued to show me through the people that are attracted to my message, who I'm supposed to work with. Now I work mostly with men, and I've kind of like designed my programs to cater to men because that's the audience that I attract with my message and that is attracted to working
Okay. Okay. Before I comment on that, right? Let me give a quick shout out to Wally. Thank you for tuning in, sir.
with. Hey,
Always
Wally.
for supporting. Forever Lisa says, just rung your doorbell on Coach Oriana. Okay. And then everybody's saying hi in here. All right. All right. So
Nice.
you brought up some well, before I reply to you about like okay, coaching for single men. Um which it does make sense to have that calling. Um I remember me like creating my first YouTube channel, like my first video on my YouTube channel. And it took me a while because I had the thoughts that I wanted to do it, but I wasn't ready, and I think just like a lot of people, no one is really just up for it, just be like, okay, I'm ready to create a YouTube channel. Don't know what to do, but let me go ahead and just pour out a video and just start and get started. After some time, I was like, you know what? I be saying like a lot of things to people. A lot of people come and they ask me for advice. I'm not a dating guru or a relationships coach, but friends typically, they have problems just like I have problems of my own. But I feel like, okay, let me share that to people on the internet because you never know who's watching or who's going to be listening. And my first negative thoughts was like, this ain't gonna go that far. Like, who want to like spend some time like just watching somebody talk and listen? So I just remember during my lunch break, I was just walking down the trail, just getting my exercise in. And I was like, you know what? Just let me just go ahead and take my phone out, put on vertical mode, and just record. Not knowing what to say, just say whatever. Um, and 2 years later, like, we have a wonderful team. We have people showing up. We have awesome people like yourself, Ariana, and the people in the chat. But all this started by taking a push, you know.
Mhm.
And when I was mentally drained and I was just tired, feel like I just want to give up making YouTube videos because I wasn't doing lives back then. I was just doing pre-recorded videos, and
Mhm.
I would post it every week back to back.
Mhm.
Then my own personal friends, not just people that you just meet on the internet, but just people that lives in close proximity, people that you grew up with, or people that really stuck by you during the hard times. Those same friends came to me and it was like, you know what, M3, we'll help you out with your channel. Let's start a podcast. Let's take it even further. And I have a network manager, one of my closest friends, another friend that makes instrumentals. If you notice like the background sound to it, that's all of like his beats. Um, and I have like, other people who joined like, knowledge and relationships as well. That doesn't really live too far away, and everybody just putting their talents in together,
Mhm.
and their skills too. And yeah, without the
That's
help
nice.
of the team and the people that support us, like in the chat, salutes John Sinatra. Without those people, like we wouldn't really be here this far. So,
Yeah.
um,
Well, like you gotta, yes, you have to credit those people, but
mhm,
like hats off to you too, right? Because for one, you had to nurture those relationships over time, right? Like
true.
those individuals, their goodwill and willingness to be in loving support of you and your show is a reflection of how much you've poured into those relationships, right? Do you
Hmm.
see that? How
Yeah.
that it's mutually beneficial and reciprocal. And so you've probably helped them in other things at other points in time to the point that they felt compelled to help you with your thing when the time was right. And I think that a lot of people, they kind of have this idea that, they shouldn't have to pour into relationships and they shouldn't have to give anything and they shouldn't have to like there should be no expectation. I'm not saying create an expectation, but I'm saying that when you show up with a giving heart, with a heart and mind intended to just be in service to people, at some point in time, that comes back to you, right? We're not talking about tit for tat, right? I washed the dishes
Hmm.
last night, so now you need to wash the dishes, right?
Yeah.
Or I helped you the last time you took a trip, so help me out this time when I'm traveling. Like, I'm not talking about tit for tat. I'm talking about building goodwill in relationships by being in service to people and helping them be successful, even, like if it's not going to directly benefit your own pocket. You can help people
Mhm.
be successful, and that comes back to you tenfold, if you're doing that with the right people, that comes back.
You are absolutely right on that part. And to me, like that's the power of friendship. And it is never limited into like the opposite gender is pretty much expand to anyone that you offer your friendship towards. And the thing is, if you're a genuine friend, like to the right people, it's gonna come back to you. Now I understand. We all probably ran into one or two people, or maybe a lot more, and we think that okay, our how should I put this? Our extension to our friendship will be reciprocated. But a lot of times you just have people that's in your life for the moment.
Mhm.
And those are what I call like lessons, walking lessons. See, they teach you lessons on how to move accordingly and to really know how to decipher who's going to be a true friend to you and reciprocate, or who's just like a person that, although will never be your friend or is never your friend to begin with,
Yeah.
but just by you extending that friendship, you know, like you put the ball in their court. You know what I mean? You put the conscience on them if they ever
Yeah.
decide to do whatever they want to do against the friendship. And then also, they probably just needed your help just for that moment of time. And
Mhm.
after you help them, you serve for them, they may not need your friendship or assistance, I'll
Yeah.
say,
Yeah.
which most people, they tend to kind of get hurt by that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the kind of person that you're referring to, if I understand you correctly, um, I call those people takers. They're takers,
Mm,
right? So these are the
okay.
opposite of the givers, right? The giver is going to give and be in service just to build goodwill, just to be a good friend, because that makes them feel good to pour into the relationship, even
Mm-hmm.
if what's coming back isn't immediate, right? Or isn't foreseeable. The
Yeah.
taker is just going to take. That's all they got for you in terms of friendship. They're there for convenience. They're there for what you have to offer. They're there for, the good times. They're not
Mm-hmm.
going to be there in the hard times. And I'm glad that you brought this up, Emper, because I was actually thinking about this probably a day or two ago. And I was just thinking to myself, right? I was just reflecting on like my relationships in the past with takers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I actually ended up saying like a little prayer. And I said to myself, you know what? Thank God for the takers.
Mm.
I thank God for the takers. God bless them. You know why?
Why is that?
Because the takers taught me how to have boundaries, standards, requirements, right?
Mm.
They taught me to love myself more. They taught me how to say no, right? They taught me what I don't want in relationships, right? They taught me to recognize red flags. And if
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't for those people, you know, I might be walking around more naive than I am today in reality, you know?
Yeah.
So I appreciate them for teaching me some hard lessons. That doesn't mean that those lessons, that I felt good to experience them. It didn't feel good.
Right.
But that's the whole point, that when it doesn't feel good, when it hurts, you learn a hard lesson. And guess what? Now I'm so much more selective about who I let into my life, especially my inner circle. I'm really, really careful about who I like build friendships with. I don't bring people into my life quickly, right? Like it takes me several experiences with a person before I bring them like into my close friend group. I don't bring people into my friend group straight away, right? Like I give people an opportunity for us to build trust and rapport and for me to see them in different settings several times before I give them access to my resources and to my heart, you know?
Yeah.
Because all of us are responsible for protecting our own heart and our own resources. If I can't do that for myself, nobody's going to be able to do it for me. No man is going to come into my life and do it for me because I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
attract a taker, right? The men I attract will be takers if I don't protect my heart, right? So I'm super selective about the people I bring into my life. And for that reason, I have amazing people in my life now. And I know what to say no to, you know, and it ain't
Right.
about being a bitch. I don't have to feel bad about it. I'm just like,
Uh-huh.
you know what? This relationship isn't for me, and that's cool, Go on about your way, and I'll go about mine, and God bless you. Take care, right? You just move it
Mm-hmm.
on. There's no harm, no foul. I just know what I want and what I don't want.
Exactly. Let me give her a round of applause for saying that.
Thank you.
Because here's the thing. There's a scripture in the Bible that says, "Guard your heart because it is like the wellspring of life." Okay, your heart is the wellspring, and so you want to treat it like respect. And the thing is, not a lot of people to not allow themselves to be taken advantage of. There's a lot of need in this. Even going back um, to like your calling, you're calling. Well, you had a plan in mind to help couples out with broken relationships, but you realized that God had another calling for you. Yeah, and that calling was to help. Well, for now, like help like single men who's probably struggling to even try to attract in relationships, if that makes sense. And so, excuse me. So when it comes to like those type of relationships, it's like people have a need for something. Like everybody is searching for something in life, but it's like the universe is not going to really give them what they need until they start to have self-love for themselves. I'm going to say this, Coach Ariana, about the majority of us men. You know, a lot of us, unfortunately, don't love ourselves enough when it comes to these relationships. We come with a lot of baggage and low self-esteem. I mean, you have society, you have, feminism, you have other men that is telling you, hey, this is how a man should feel. This is how a man should operate, as if we're robots. And so when you're so used to having to kind of put that mask on yourself, having that tough exterior, but not really being able to articulate, the things that you're going through. And this is why like the mental health rate for men is just so high up there because men are afraid to speak. So by those men having the courage to even, want to come to you to get advice, that speaks loud volumes of what you're doing to help men to be better.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I actually find that, thank you forever, Lisa. I appreciate you. I actually find that they're slow to ask for help, but when they do, it's because they're ready. Like they're
Mm,
ready to receive it. They're ready to create a change in their life. And that's one of the things that I enjoy the most about working with men. I'm not comparing them to women. I'm just saying that, like,
yeah.
as a coach, it's nice
Hmm.
to work with people who are quick to take responsibility, quick to take accountability, and quick to take action. And when you have those three things, then people get results, right? And as a coach, I want to see people get results, right? I want to see them create the change in their life that when they walked in, they said they wanted to create, right? Like
Hmm.
actually seeing that transformation is what's the most rewarding thing, you know? And, or even getting a person to a place where they actually realize, like, hey, the thing I thought I wanted isn't what I want, right?
Mm,
Like I thought I wanted that because I was programmed to believe that I want that. What I really want is this, and that's what I'm going to go after, right? Like that is a huge transformation in a person's mindset that is honestly rewarding and really beautiful to watch. And I feel blessed to be able to be a part of it. And so
okay.
my goal my goal even more so than helping people in a coaching capacity. My goal is to be obedient to the calling of life and spirit. That's what God wants me to do right now. I'm here
Yeah.
for it. And sometimes I don't know why I was chosen to do this thing of all things that I could be doing, right? But
Mm,
I'm just not going to question it anymore, right? Because if I anytime that I show up shaky in my belief about what I'm doing or why I'm doing it or whether or not I'm doing the right thing, if I get shaky in my belief system, the people that want to work with me are going to feel that. Right?
Mm.
They're gonna feel that I don't have enough capacity or space in my world as a coach to be able to support them. And they might not be able to articulate that, but what they do say might be like, I don't know. I mean, it sounds good, but I'm just not certain, right? Like it's going to create a sense of uncertainty with them. Instead of them interacting with me and feeling like, oh, wow, like when I spoke to her, I felt held, I felt cared for, right? I felt like I stepped into a container that was steady and available. That's the goal. And, honestly, to God be the glory that I get to do this work.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Amen to that. Um, Real quick hmm, with my next question. So, well, actually, hold on. What was the question? Oh, my other question is like, with the men, what is like the most common question that they ask to you?
Mm. Common, I don't know if there's a common question, but I'll tell you what,
Mm-hmm.
um, when I was coaching both men and women,
Mm-hmm.
I started kind of like doing this little experiment with myself. And I
Mm-hmm.
started to kind of like keep a tally and thinking to myself, like, I think that the main issues that men have and women have are going to be totally different. So I'm just going to kind of keep track of what they are so that I can understand. And then what really occurred to me that was surprising is that I was wrong.
Mm.
The main thing, like the core struggle that people are having, both men and women, is actually the same.
Okay.
And it's a combination of two things, and it's low self-worth and poor self-image, right? So that can be, kind of encompassed in self-love, right? If you have
Mm-hmm.
low self-worth, that means that your perception is that your value is low, right? It really comes from the word worthless. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that you believe that you're worthless completely, but you might think that you're worth less than something else relative to what you're comparing yourself to, right? So there's
Mm-hmm.
comparison, right? Like I'm not worth as much as that other person because they have this, that, and the other, and I don't have that. Or I'm not worth that salary that job is paying, even though I know I could do that job, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so we subconsciously start to block ourselves because our self-worth is low. The other thing is poor self-image, which means the way you see yourself is in low regard. You don't have a high regard for yourself. You don't think you're, capable of doing anything or acquiring whatever it is that you desire if you put your mind to it. You think to yourself, well, this is it, like this is all I got. I don't really think I could change it. I don't really think I could be different. I don't really think I could learn more than what I already know, right? It's a very fixed mindset, is really what that indicates. So I think that the poor self image comes from a fixed mindset. The low self worth comes from a spiritual disconnect inside of ourselves.
Okay.
Because, if you really knew where you came from and who created you would not suffer with low self worth, right? If you were always connected to that all of the time or as much as you possibly could, right? You would see yourself the way he sees you, right? And so one of them is, we do it to ourselves, but the other one is spiritual. Now, the side effects of this problem is all kinds of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
No self-love, broken relationship with yourself, right? Because if you don't know who you are, you have an identity disconnect, then you can't really love yourself if you don't know yourself. If you don't know yourself, that means that you're creating false relationships with other people because you don't have any standards by which to select people. Right? And those are values. You got to have a value system. You have to have a basis for morality of deciding what's right and wrong life. If you don't have these things, then people just create relationships for the sake of creating relationships because people want to belong and they want to
Mm-hmm.
feel connection, right? And
Yeah.
so when that happens, when we just create relationships just for the sake of having them, you
Mm-hmm.
either attract takers, or and you become a pleaser, or you are a taker and you attract pleasers, right? One or the other. But those
Mm.
relationships are always broken. They're always disconnected because there's no foundation, And so some people like they're trying to save a relationship that has no foundation, so it can't actually be saved. Right? There is no way to
Mm.
get back together and reconcile that. I know that's really hard to hear sometimes because people are like, I just want this person back. But they don't recognize that they're actually what bonded them is their trauma, right? So that's why a lot of
Wow.
times when one person starts doing their self-work and like healing and forgiveness and all of that, they will lose a lot of relationships, right? Their friends will go away. They actually, before things get better, they get worse. You kind of start to see your world start blowing up around you because when you start doing your self work and healing, then people who don't want to do that will feel threatened by that. And it's like, so what, you think you're better than me now? Right? You think you're better than us because you stopped drinking? You think you're better than us because you got off drugs, right? You think you're better than us because you're doing self work or because you read a book? And it's unfortunate, but we have to let those relationships fall away, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because personal growth and personal self work is. I want you guys to think about it like house cleaning. You're cleaning up your internal home, you
Yeah.
know. And so the only way to clean up your internal home when you do healing work is that you have to get rid of the relationships that don't serve you, and they probably never served you. You just never really allowed yourself to see it or accept that they were never serving you.
Man. Chat, definitely take notes on this because those are definitely helpful gems to really go back to. Wow. I like the way how you kind of broke everything down because I didn't really look at about the trauma part. That trauma can be a contributor to bring people together. But
Yeah,
then once one party decides to do well, then it's like you're going through the storm. Mm, that's
yeah.
definitely like, food for thought.
That's that old expression that some of us will remember that says misery loves company.
Mm-hmm.
That expression is very real, and it became like the popular expression for that reason, because it's true. Because people like to get together and create friendships and bonding experiences over uh, hardship and personal struggle and difficulty, and even sickness, things like that, right? Like those things, they actually do bring people together. The problem with building a relationship based on that is that as soon as one person gets well, that person no longer belongs. You know? Like the sickness becomes the premise for the relationship, right? So it's like, wait a minute, you're getting well, you gotta go.
Oh, okay. Man, thanks for breaking it down to it because like I said, like this is definitely like helpful gems. And people in the chat, definitely please, like I said, take notes because um a lot of people may not are not even aware of those type of actions or those type of situations. Um Forever Lisa says, to be honest, I don't want my ex-husband back. I'm so good where God is leading me to. But the good news is that we're our friends and we respect each other's boundaries. Definitely. Salutes to that.
Yeah, let it be a testament.
Mm-hmm. But she also says it wasn't easy. All glory belongs to God. Real talk. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah. Let it be a
Definitely.
testament to her ability to and willingness to engage in her own healing work and her journey too, and perhaps him as well, right? Because even if they couldn't reconcile the relationship, at the least that they could do is reconcile to the extent that they could be civil especially if co-parenting is involved.
Mm-hmm.
But she actually said that they're friends, so that's great. That's incredible.
Yeah. Coach Ariana, I want to introduce my network manager, Mr. Intellectual SoapBox. He's also a part of Knowledge Relationships. What's up, Mr. Intellectual SoapBox?
What's going on? What's going on, family? What's going on? Coach Ariana, it's a pleasure to meet you. And Bree,
Thank
what's
you.
going
You
on?
too. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Truly,
Yes,
truly.
true.
Definitely.
Yeah. Mr. Intellectual SoapBox, do you have any questions for Coach Ariana?
So my question is this: Are you is your healing based on kind of or is your work based on? I won't say healing, but is your work based on people actually taking action? Is it more of a lifestyle coach? You know, what is your actual? Also, I started following you on Instagram as well. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
Definitely got us some love and support. But and
Yes,
also with you doing that, you know, and maybe you answered this question already because I don't want to take away from the conversation. What life situations inspired you to do what you're doing?
Mm. Great question. So I'll answer your first question about the work. Is the work action oriented? Yes, the work is action oriented. It's going to push people to get uncomfortable. It's like you'll have the accountability and support of a coach in the process of getting uncomfortable, right? And because
Mm-hmm.
some of that includes having some hard conversations that have been neglected for a long time. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it is action oriented, which is the reason that when I talk to people, when people approach me about coaching, and I offer a complimentary consultation, so I'll spend an hour with them, and I don't accept everyone who has a consultation with me as a client. And I'll tell you the reason why. It's because not everybody is ready to get action oriented, And
Mm-hmm.
so some people, what they need is to be able to just talk about what happened, right? What happened in their childhood, what happened in their relationship, in their past, what happened in divorce. They just need to get it out of their chest, and they
Mm-hmm.
just need to process it and say the words out loud, but they're not ready to actually take action. That person needs a therapist. They don't need a coach. If they work with a coach before they're ready to take action, they're going to get really uncomfortable really fast, and they're not going to be able to take the actions, which means that they're not going to get the results that investing in the coaching relationship um, promised, right? Or was supposed to be able to get them because they weren't
Mm-hmm.
ready to receive it. So I have a therapist that I know, like, and trust, and in my local area. So when who works with people virtually too. So when I meet someone and I think you're not really ready for a coach, but I want to help you, I give them a therapist referral to
Mm.
this other therapist who I know can help people.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't trust all the therapists out there,
No, no,
but
that's good.
Definitely true indeed.
yeah.
What was my
Yeah, I
second
don't think
question?
all the therapists out there are doing good work, but the ones that do, I get their number. So I can give
Oh,
them
I remember
referrals.
my second
Yeah.
question. My second question was is your work inspired by any life situations?
Yeah, yeah. So I would say my work is inspired by my some of my personal experiences in the past, and I would say two main ones, right? One of them is I did go through the experience of divorce after a 17-year relationship. And
Mm.
so coming out of that experience, I had to really do a lot of healing work to understand the role that I played in keeping myself in an unhealthy relationship. Not just going into the relationship, but keeping myself in the relationship for 17 years, right? Like I did that. So I had
Yeah.
to own that and understand what was it in me that made those choices. The other thing that happened to me is when I was in my early 30s, when I was about uh, 2013, so about 9 years ago now, I had a medical malpractice and I became very, very sick. I almost died. So I
Oh.
had to, I think that was the experience that really punched me in the gut and made me wake up to my reality. So the reality of the relationship that I was in that was not good for me, the reality that my job and the way that I was performing in my career was really leading me down a path that was hurtful to myself, right? I was getting burnt out. I was overworked, underpaid, right? And again, I put myself there and I kept myself there. I essentially I had to really look at myself, look at my life. Where did my personal ecosystem have breakdowns? And not only fix the breakdowns, but take responsibility and ownership for why it was broken down and heal it so that I didn't do that again. Right? This is what a lot of high achievers do when it comes to performance and work and achievement is we run ourselves into the ground to get it, right? And when we do that, that thing that we run into the ground, it could be your health, it could be your relationships, your marriage, could be your relationship with your kids. But like we get like this, right? We get tunnel vision and we just see the goal, right? And like we don't care what promises we made to our kids or to anyone else. We just got to get to the goal and then I'll worry about the fallout after I cross the finish line. We have to stop thinking that way. We have to stop that. A lot of the people that I work with like subscribe to that thought process, and it's a broken way of thinking about performance because it like the ability to reach the goal and perform, it hurts you, but the fact that you cross the finish line and you actually achieve the thing makes you ignore all of the things that you sacrificed in order to get there, right? So there's all this collateral damage, but damn, I made it, right? I got the promotion, or I finished the project, or whatever it is. And so that is actually a type of performance that we learn growing up from our parents and our caregivers.
Right. Yep.
You know, like I'm going to do it even if it hurts me kind of performance. And so when we actually back up from that, we can see it's a mindset, but it's also the mindset has been reinforced by habits, habitual ways of thinking, habitual ways of taking action that are very unhealthy. And usually we've been doing that for many, many, many years. So we have to undo that way of thinking and realize that like, to get across the finish line, you don't have to hurt yourself to do it. There is a way you can do it that doesn't hurt you, doesn't hurt your family, doesn't hurt your relationships and your health. And the trick is to find that way, the healthy way to do it, and learn those habits so that you don't fall back on some of the stuff that you probably used to do. And that could be any series of things. It, could be pulling all-nighter. It could be take amphetamine so that you can stay up multiple days, in a row. It could be, sacrificing sleep, sacrificing time with your family, not eating, not going to the bathroom, not taking care of yourself even though you're sick, right? Not getting medical treatment, not taking your medication. It's a lot of stuff that people do that is very self-sacrificing.
And that's definitely true. Like that's why I kind of like look at appreciate the journey that you went through, because not focus on just like the finish line, but really be grateful for the things that you had to endure, but you made it, and just know that now you got to this goal, but that goes on the beginning for the next goal. Something that is going to expand even larger. Real quick, I gotta give shout outs to him versus her. Now him versus her network, brother AR. Major salutes to you. Again, like I said before in the beginning, if it wasn't for AR, we would have never met Coach Oriana in this YouTube space. So thank you for reaching out to Coach Oriana and bringing her here and just connecting us together. And that's what it is about, like just relationship building. Shout outs to Not Your Guy. He says good evening, salutes to knowledge and relationships. And then also salutes to Bruiser as well.
Bruiser, what up, man?
He also follows you on IG, so he just wanted to let you know. And then Not Your Average Guy says self-reflection and accountability is important for recovery. So thank you everybody
100%.
for tuning in.
And Coach Oriana, I can
Hmm.
definitely relate, you know what I mean, to your experiences and even what you're saying about as far as making sure that you are taking care of yourself first. I think
Hmm.
that that is so key. I think for me, coming from a background where, you know, I grew up in a single parent home for most of my life. My grandparents were there, but they were there more of like a kind of like of a support base financially more than anything, not really emotionally. So they would just provide financial means, and really that's about it. And their motto was, if you want something, you have to work hard and get it. It wasn't about your emotions. It wasn't about you not feeling well. All that was on the back burner. You know what I mean? It was about the results. What results could you get? Either you're gonna get it done or you're not. You know what I mean? So with that, I felt like, all right, well, since one of my parents is not here, you know what I mean, and they're not really doing what they got to do. I have another parent who was there, but they had a lot of things that they were dealing with as well, as far as their life and them being a very very young parent, them being a teen parent, they had a lot of different things that they were dealing with as well. And I had, and I've realized that now that I've gotten older, and I mean, I'm almost 40, so I definitely have a lot of life reflection on what has happened and why things happened in a certain way, and why things were messed up or things were missing. Um, but with all that being said, for me, I was like, all right, well, I have to go out and get it. I have to go out and make something happen. And if I'm not making it happen, then guess what? It's not going to happen. So that was my ideal. That was my thought process. But from what I've seen, and my experiences, I seen that wasn't the best way to handle things because I was ignoring, my health. I was ignoring my well being. I was ignoring, relationships, and I really didn't. At some points I didn't even care. I just wanted to get my goal done. I wanted to finish school. I wanted to, become a certified computer tech. I didn't really care about nothing else. Everything else was a back burner. You know what I mean? Because I was like, man, if I don't get it, then I can't rely on somebody else to do it for me. You know what I mean? Because if I'm waiting for somebody else to do it for me, it ain't gonna happen. You know what I mean? But that doesn't mean that you're supposed to ignore like your health though. And I
Right.
think, I wasn't even thinking about that. I was like, man, I go to the doctor whenever I go to the doctor. It is what it is. I'm trying to get what I'm trying to get. And that cost me big time, really big time. And if I would have just focused on my health and, still been motivated, but also focused on my health more importantly than anything, it would have saved me. It would have saved me a lot of, things that I'm going through right now. So I truly understand that. Um, and I almost was on on my last leg as well. You know what I mean? And I still got a battle not to be on that. So, at the end of the day, you know, money isn't everything, man. Your health is everything. Your well being is everything. Your peace of mind, having a peace of mind is everything. You know what I mean? And just overall, just being healthy is just the best way. Um, and I think because sometimes we strive so hard just to try to make something happen, we neglect the things that actually, do matter, or the things that we actually care about, or the things that's going to really matter at the end. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because, yeah, I became a certified computer tech, but at what cost? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, was it really worth it? You know what I mean? Is it really worth, me having to go through the shit that I'm going through now? Excuse my French, but, you know, I don't think it's worth it. I don't think it's worth it. I rather be doing other things than having to be worrying about the things I'm worrying about now. But it was a lesson I had to
Hmm.
learn my lesson, and now I'm doing what I got to do. So you know, um, I always tell people, don't be like me, be better than me. You know what I mean? Do things better than what I'm doing it. You know what I mean? And even though I feel like I worked hard and I'm proud of my achievements, but it's like, at what cost? You know what I mean? So yeah, I definitely can relate.
I pray for you, brother, because I relate to you so much. Even some of the stuff that you're recounting that you would say to yourself, I said that to myself, right? You're like literally listening to you is like listening to myself talking, and like who I was at that point in time. And yeah, I still have health struggles too. that I'm going to probably have to deal with for the rest of my life. And I agree with you. It wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth sacrificing myself for, you know, a position or the money or whatever, because these companies will replace you in 2 days, right? Like
Mhm.
this is
Facts.
what we have to understand about this is that the experience that we're having, like why it's so relatable and why, you know, not just us here on the panel, but probably many people watching are like, oh my gosh, yeah, me too, is because this is not new, right? Like there's nothing
Yeah.
new under the sun. And the mindset that leads people to have this type of experience that Mr. Intellectual Soapbox and I can relate so closely to it's a type of poverty mindset, right? It's based in scarcity. And
Mhm.
it's the mindset that says, again, like he literally said it, if I don't do it, nobody else will. If I don't do it, it won't happen. And I have to struggle and I have to work hard. I have to go, go, go because nobody else will do it, right? It's this idea that I have to do it, but also I have to do it alone and it has to be a struggle. And if it's not a struggle, if it comes easy, then I didn't really earn it in something, right? Like I have to do it in a way that's only slightly better than what I saw growing up, right?
Yeah.
Like my parents worked their asses off. My parents are immigrants. You know, they didn't speak English very well. They didn't understand the United States system of schooling or anything like that. So they were
Mhm.
hands off with our school outside of just making sure that we win, you know. But other than that, you know, our parents weren't available a lot to be there to emotionally nurture us.
Hmm.
And that's what I find is very common in people who didn't have these emotionally unavailable parents. You know, we had emotionally unavailable parents. And so if we maybe we got that from siblings or from another family member or caregiver if we were lucky. But
Yeah.
if not, you know, we were all we had, you
Yep.
know, and when you're all you
Mhm.
have as a kid, all you know is I need to survive. That's it. I need to survive, right? And like
Wow.
you make it happen some way, somehow, even if it hurts you, even if it's hard, even if it's a struggle, you know. And as a child, oftentimes we don't realize that um, we can ask for help because a lot of times we think if anybody else knows that like my parents aren't around or aren't available or that I'm having to do this thing, my parents might get in trouble, right? If people know
Yeah.
like when I get home, I'm home alone for, you know, 3 or 4 hours before anybody shows up, right? Like my parents might get in trouble. Like we're always taught, especially in a lot of these households, that, you know, you just focus on yourself, don't open the door to anybody else, right? Like
Yeah.
just do what you got to do and, you know, lay low and get it done.
Mhm.
And it's not necessarily a good thing. You know, when I think about it really from like I'm not a parent, but when I think about it from that perspective, it's like my parents almost taught me that self neglect because I saw them neglecting themselves for work, and
Mhm.
then I grew up and I neglected myself for work, right? Like I
Right.
just repeated that cycle. And so we have to start to become more conscious and like the consciousness raising of the collective and starts with ourselves, right? I have to recognize that that's not a healthy way to raise a child, you know? And when I recognize that and I decide that and then I can change for the next generation.
Mhm.
I don't want to be emotionally unavailable or teach my kids that it's valuable to neglect yourself to go to work. Like my parents would not take a day off unless they were on their deathbed, you know? And so
Man.
they were like, I didn't see that, you know? And I grew
Mhm.
up believing that that was like world class, excellent work ethic that I should
Yeah.
have too. And if I couldn't have that, then I was failing. There was a problem,
Mhm.
you know. And
Yep.
so I wouldn't take a day off unless I was on my deathbed, you know. And like that's not good. Not good for us.
So, Coach Ariana, let me ask you like, two questions. I missed the first part. Did you say you have children or you do not have children?
I do not.
Oh, you do not. Okay. And the second part, what I was going to ask is that, like, okay, um, having that experience of unavailable parents, like, did that also affect in your relationships as well too, like friendships, and hopefully I'm not getting too personal, but with your first marriage.
Yeah, I'm sure that it did. This is, I think, one thing that's important to understand about emotional unavailability and relationships, right? And in relationships, we are always attracting people who are a complementary match to
Mm-hmm.
where we are in our development and in our consciousness level, in our emotional development, especially, right? So if you're emotionally unavailable, you're going to most likely also attract other people who are emotionally unavailable to
Mm-hmm.
more or less the same degree. Now, when let's say that on a scale of 1 to 10, you're emotionally unavailable and you're a 6 and they are an 8, right? When you hit your cap of where you're willing to be available emotionally, there's
Mm-hmm.
going to be a gap, right? Because they're an 8, and they're
Mm-hmm.
gonna feel that difference. Like, hey, why don't you come up here where I'm at? Because I want to understand your feelings more. I want to understand your emotions more. I want you to talk to me more, right? I want to connect with you more deeply and intimately. And you're gonna say, I'm I'm good where I'm at, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so this person can either accept that there's a gap in emotional availability there. They can either
Mm-hmm.
accept that, or they can say, you know what, I don't accept that and I need more. And so if you can't come up some more and do something to close the gap, right? Or if we don't go to couples counseling or whatever it is, or go to therapy on your own or get a coach, if you can't close the gap, then we might need to break up, right? That happens
Mm-hmm.
all the time, all the time. And so what I say to people is like, if you have a partner, right? If that's the situation between you and your partner, and you genuinely love each other and
Mm-hmm.
you get along, and your partner is willing to do something to close the gap between you, right? So you can level out a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Stay together. Stay together. Because you the number of people that are out there that are not willing to do anything, they'll actually look at you and be like, I'm not the one with the problem, you are, right? You're
That's
the one who
okay.
needs to change. You're the one that needs to do something about whatever it is you're feeling that you want more of. Like, I don't know what that is, but I don't have it, and tough shit. Like, that's the
Mm-hmm.
majority of people that are out there. So if you find someone that genuinely says, like, yeah, like I could use some help, and I guess I'm willing to talk to someone to work on it, sure. Like, that's a good partner. That's a good person. You don't have to break up with them for that. But yeah, my
Yeah.
my ex-partner and I, we were not an equal match. It was after I became really, really sick that I realized, like, this is not a good situation. Our relationship is really broken, even more so than I wanted to believe or accept before that, before I became ill. And he never wanted help, right? He never wanted to do anything with me or on his own to close the gap. And so
Yeah.
that's what started over time to make it really, really clear for me that um, something had to change, right? Either we get
Mm-hmm.
help or the relationship is just going to continue to break down. And unfortunately, that's what.
Man, and that's tough because that goes back to our previous conversation when we was breaking down in relationships, which I had the inclination that everything that you're teaching other people, I'm for sure 9 times out of 10, you went through that experience, so that way you're able to kind of share that personal wisdom.
Mhm. Yeah, and I do share my personal wisdom with my clients when it's relevant to
Mm-hmm.
what they're experiencing. Otherwise, my focus is on making it about them, and giving them the skills, the communication skills and the tools, to where they can face some of the challenges in their life. I will tell you, like, like the most game-changing thing that you could do for yourself is to learn how to regulate your nervous system. You
Regulate
and
your
this is
nervous
about
system?
your relationship with you. Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
you have to learn to self-regulate. Like this should be like top personal life skill number one for everyone becoming an adult, right?
Okay.
And so part of learning to self-regulate is that you become non-reactive. And when you become non-reactive, what that means is that you are not willing to give away your power to other people who push, even if they push your emotional buttons, right? So somebody cuts you off in traffic, non-reactive, right? Like, I'm not reacting to that. Why? Not because that's not annoying, not because I'm willing to be a doormat, not, but because I'm not going to give that person my energy, right? My energy is valuable, right? And so the more you value yourself, the more you value your energy and attention, which comes when you're doing your healing and self-work, right? Because your self-worth goes up. Now you're like, oh, wait a minute. I'm not willing to just let anybody come up in my life and take away my peace,
Yeah.
right? Because I had to fight for that peace. This is one thing about peace and freedom. Peace and freedom actually require violence to be able to create them, right? They require violence. They require destruction. They require you to fight for them.
Facts.
Right?
Destroy
Right?
to
You hear
rebuild.
me?
Yeah.
Yeah. You see that? Because I'm either going to be fighting with myself, me versus me, right? To like get the crap out of myself, the baggage, the emotional hurt. I'm either going to be fighting to take that out of myself so that I can have peace and freedom, or I'm going to be fighting other people who want to take away my peace and freedom. So if you want peace and freedom, you not only have to protect it, you have to be willing to destroy shit and get violent over it. Okay, I'm laughing, but I am so freaking serious right now.
That's us. that's our podcast all the way through. Like you just don't know.
I'm glad y'all are feeling me. Thank you.
Yeah, no.
So, if you understand where I'm coming from, once you go through all of the pain and hurt and freaking tears and everything to get your peace back, to get your freedom, let's say your freedom from a bad relationship, your freedom from a terrible job that doesn't appreciate you, that, once you take that back, you are not giving that up easily again, and you will fight people for it. But part of that process is protecting it. Once you have it, you protect it, right? Like you put a shield of protection around yourself. And what that shield is doing, it's basically me saying, you don't have access to my power. You don't have access to my power source. So if you want to cut me off in traffic, you can go ahead. I'm gonna press the brake and I'm gonna stay in my lane right here, because cutting me off in traffic ain't gonna take away my power source. Oh, you want to call me names? That's cool, right? You want to leave rude comments in my, I'm just gonna, I'm not going to give you my power source, access to my power source, which is my emotional state, right? Now, that doesn't mean that seeing somebody, leave something hurtful or hateful on your comments is going to feel good. It just means that I'm going to choose how I react and when. And instead of reacting like, you mother, I'm just going to read that. I'm going to be with it. I'm going to let myself process that. And then either later on, I might come back and respond when I get, my thoughts straight. Or I'm going to just choose that I'm not going to respond, because you're not worth my time if you're insulting me in my comments, right? Same with anybody, your partner, your kids, your parents. Parents know how to push our buttons. Oh my God, because they raised you, so they know how to do it, right? And so I'm just not going to let them have power, My mom, she knows all the ways to push all of my buttons, right? So like when I go there, part of what I recognize now is that like her commentary is just her trying to connect. And even when I don't like what she's saying, she's doing one or two things. She's either trying to connect or she's trying to protect me from something. And
Yeah.
that's how she shows love. And I might not like it, I might not agree with it, but am I gonna fight her anymore like I used to? No, because I'm tired. I'm not fighting my mom anymore.
Mhm.
Right? I'd rather just love my mom the way she is than keep fighting her, you know, because she's old school. She's not going to change now. That's just how she is, you know?
Mhm.
And
Yep.
so a lot of times we're sitting here like reacting to people, having these big, you know, triggers and responses and crying, you know, your man didn't
Mhm.
notice this or that about you. Now you're going to cry and yell at him and, you know, make a scene, even all of that. When like all you could have done was just have a civil conversation. I didn't appreciate being spoken to like that. Please don't speak to me like that in front of other people ever again. If you do, I'm going to leave the situation. That's just how simple it is. I'm not telling you what you need to do. I'm just asking you to not speak to me like that again. And I'm telling you what I will do if you do. I'm not telling
Mm.
you how to act. I'm
Yeah.
not telling you how to act. I'm just making a request, right?
You have to place those consequences on them because people will not respect your boundaries until consequences are implemented.
Yes.
But
And
well,
follow through on.
I'm going to say this, right? And Intellectual SoapBox, I know you want to reply to this so bad, right? I could tell,
Mhm.
you know. I'll make it real short, I promise.
Whatever.
All right. So we had, as a group, okay, because we run a podcast, and it's not easy trying to run, moderate, host, network manage, you know, and really build fundamental relationships with certain people. Some people, unfortunately, especially in this space, they tend to act a little Hollywoodish.
Mm.
And here's the thing, personally, yes, like I understand business is business. You work with people, you talk, interact, and then that's it. Now, however, we're like a network that we like to extend on friendships, relationship building. And we understand that not all people are going to reciprocate, which that's fine. But there was a period of time, maybe for a good solid month, you know, in the beginning of our season 2, that we had to destroy to rebuild.
Mhm.
And, you know, whether if that's like losing on some subscribers, losing out on some relationships, we actually had to take that risk because in the beginning, it's like trial and error. You're easygoing, you're open to everybody into your space. But sometimes, you know, people are not able to articulate their emotions when they're having a disagreement. And no, by the end of the day, we're all adults. So the whole purpose of having certain controversial type of topics, it may hit the emotions deep, but the point is to have a civil conversation and react to it. But when insults and hurdles and threats starting to come along to the platform, this is not the vision that we have, you know, implemented. And so, yes, the views will be great because unfortunately, the majority of people love to see drama. And I get that. You know, this is entertainment for y'all. I always say this is an entertainment channel. But at the same time, if it's at the expense of hurting people and hurting our own selves, you know, and people, because you never know who's watching. People could be watching us and be like, "Oh, I like knowledge relationships," but you know, we got a couple of guys in there, right? And I don't know if they're affiliated with them, but they're sure talking bad about other people and they're really ruining the content of the show. So sometimes you have to get rid of and cut those people off.
I agree. Kudos to you for doing it because it's not easy.
Yeah, but we had to do that and agree to it as a team, you know, and
Mhm.
understand that, you know, the long term is more beneficial than something that's short term.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Uh,
that's the thing, you know, if you let other people take over your vision,
mhm.
you'll won't be able to create what you want. You'll create what they want.
Right, absolutely. Um, Coach Oriana, I know that right now we're at the 1 hour and 22 minute mark. I just want to be mindful of your time, and I know Mr. Intellectual Soapbox, probably have some questions that he want to say. So let me know if if we're cutting close to your time.
Yeah. Let's give it maybe another 15, 20 minutes.
Okay, absolutely.
So I'm
Cool,
having a good
cool.
time.
All right. Plus, I have one important question to ask you, anyways, though. But go ahead, Mr. Intellectual Soapbox.
Yeah.
And I think from what everything is saying and thinking through, from what everybody is saying, it's something I had to learn as well. Never be afraid to ask for more or ask for what you believe that you're worth. Because a lot of times people try to give you less than what you deserve, and never take that. Never take less. Always take what you deserve, or always take more. I mean, because people will try to come at you and give you less, and in layman's terms, they will try to lowball you. They will try to say, "Oh, well, I'm not going to give you this opportunity, or I'm not going to pay you this much, or I'm not going to do this for you. I don't believe that we need to do this. I don't believe you're worth that, or I don't believe you're worth doing this, or us doing this in our relationship, or in our business partnership, or whatever." You know what I'm saying? Or also, there's times people they may want you to settle. Oh no, don't stay with so and so. Don't leave them. Oh, that's your family. You need to work out with so and so. No, sometimes you have to say bye bye. You know what I mean? You have to say goodbye so that you can elevate and you can level up. Okay, you can level up, and trust me, once you level up, your life will be so much better. You'll be so relieved. You'll be so happy. You'll be overjoyed because you have finally made a decision to make sure that you are at your best. Self love is the best love, people. I keep telling y'all that. You know what I mean? Not only that, self care is the best care. You know what I mean? And the thing is, you have to do it for yourself sometimes. You have to say, you know what? People are not going to, give me the results that I'm looking for. You know what? I'm gonna make sure I'm getting those results. You know what I mean? And never settle. I'm not trying to sound like a commercial, but definitely never settle. All right. Always, always, always. You know what I mean? Go for what you're worth. Even if people want to see you as the bad guy, even if they want to talk bad about you and whatever, they'll get over it. They'll move on and they'll be thinking about something else. You know what I mean? So don't ever take less than what you feel like you're worth. Don't ever do that. You know what I mean? Always take of equal value or take more. Because sometimes we think, oh, okay, I'm gonna be humble and I'm just gonna take this. No, 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 no. You're sure sighting yourself. You know what I mean? If I can live in a mansion, why would I live? Why would I live in a poverty stricken community if I can live in a mansion and be comfortable? I'm not living in that poverty stricken community. I'm moving right to my mansion. I'm going right to where I'm gonna be comfortable, where I'm gonna be safe, and where I can thrive. And some people try to make you feel like you're bad for these things. They'll talk about you. They'll say, "Oh, you know what I mean? Oh, you think you're better? Oh, yeah, I do. Yes, you're right. I do think I'm better." I will wear that badge all day long, twice on Sunday. Okay, so that's what it is, y'all. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah. True. I'm glad that you mentioned thriving because, in order to thrive, um, yes, I cook every day, all the time. I cook good too.
Okay, Mark.
Thank you for asking. Yes, I am
Chicken
a
sandwiches
submissive
again? Oh
woman
boy,
Yeah,
sorry,
in my
sorry.
but he talking
relationship.
about a cooked sandwich, so it's an inside joke.
Oh man, here we go.
Hold on, I gotta give him the what's it called? Yeah, that sound effect.
Marcus.
Okay, Marcus.
Shout us out
Respect
to
him.
Marcus.
Which
Thank
one?
you, Marcus. What you were talking about thriving, and
Mhm.
like, yeah, like I'm gonna move my to a good neighborhood and live in the mansion where I can thrive. Like, you have to have developed that already as a standard and as a value, and you have to have understanding that that would lead you to thriving for you to even say yes to that in the first place. And the thing about a lot of people that get upset with us, with you, when you are kind of like progressing in your life, it's because they have no connection to any kind of standards or values that would lead them to a better life. And
Mm-hmm.
so instead of being happy for you when they see you moving towards a better life and better outcomes for yourself, which you've worked damn hard to create. They look at that and they get envious, they get jealous, and they think to themselves, that should be me, even though they're not doing any other work to get there, right? They're not doing the work on themselves to get a good partner. So when you show up with a beautiful woman, they're pissed, right? But they're not doing anything to get a beautiful woman in a healthy relationship, right? They're not doing anything to get the finances and the career that you're on, right? You know, and so it's that sense of entitlement that so many people have these days that, you know, is in a lot of ways like our society almost like rewards and creates that narcissistic entitled culture that we're in, you know, that you got to be able to see beyond that for what it is and just let those relationships and those people fall away, you know, because it's not healthy for you and your progress and thriving to have jealous, envious people around you who are going to be trying to break you down from behind you. You know, let them go. Even if they are family, let them go. You know, make your own family.
Yep.
I like that. I consider my friends to be my family. You know, I know the old saying like blood is thicker than water. So I mean, yeah, that's true, I guess. You know, but at the same time, in a more of a connection sense, like family is the ones that I know that I could call on, and they'll be there for me, and vice versa, and then my love will be extended to them as well. So,
but if the blood is tainted, you got to throw it out. If
oh
the
yeah,
blood
you
is
gotta do that
tainted,
too.
you got to throw it out.
Yeah, you don't want
The
that in your
thing is,
system.
like, there's a lot of trauma that gets passed on from generation to generation, right? Like that becomes the generational legacy is trauma, right? Rather than, you know, wealth or healthy relationships. What's getting passed down are like broken family systems. And so a lot of times when you're the person in your family who is healing the family system and healing that generational trauma by healing yourself first and going, I'm going to do it different in my family unit, right? Like, I'm not going to raise my kids the way I was raised. I'm not going to marry a partner based on a trauma bond, right? When you're the one breaking those generational curses, you often do get mistreated and even pushed out of your family. You know, I talk to a lot of people in those situations, and we're the black sheep, right? We don't fit into our family. A lot of times we feel like we don't belong there. We're like, it's like, was I adopted? Like, how did I even get in this family system? But it's because you're the one responsible for healing that trauma and creating change for future generations. Like, that's your legacy and your responsibility. So, you know, just like M3 said, create your own family and you know, go do heal the trauma within yourself so that you can create your own family and just move on, you know. And whoever is in the family, in your existing family system that is intended to be a part of the healing process and the solution, they will wake up when they're ready to wake up to that calling. Like, it's not your role to try to wake all these people up in your family. Like, we got to break this trauma, you know. It's not your job.
Yeah, you're only responsible
do it for yourself. Yeah. Do it for yourself, and then you're going to show up differently. And when you do, the people who can feel that will actually say, like, hey, what's up with you? Like, you're different.
Yeah.
And then you can share because you've been invited to.
I like that. The personal growth within. Stan says, my grandmother had 15 brothers and sisters, but we only knew 4 of them. Well, 4 of their siblings. There's a reason why they cut 10 out. Wow. Large family, but that doesn't mean that, you know, you'll all stay together as one. All right, Coach. I'm going to ask you just one last question.
Yeah.
And the question is, let me turn the music off real quick. So the last question is, when you received the invitation to non relationships, what was like your first thoughts and feelings about us?
Oh, well, of course, I mean, I checked out your profile. So I think it's really important for me to be careful what I say yes to in terms of people and invitations and platforms, right? Because I don't want
Hmm.
to. Some of the stuff I talk about is not popular, and I don't want to end up somewhere that I don't belong, right? So yeah, I checked out your profile, and actually your message was very cordial, very respectful, direct, like kind, right? And so that gave me, and of course you were referred by somebody that I know, like, and trust. So when I checked out your profile, I was like, oh, okay, he seems cool. So then I went to your YouTube channel, and I'm like, okay, that's what's up. and then and then I wrote you back. I was like, yeah, let's do it.
Okay, okay. And
Yeah, it was a
yeah,
good impression.
thank you. I definitely appreciate it. Because a lot of times we have a lot of unpopular opinions, and the thing is that not everyone takes the time to watch the entirety of a video and
Mm-hmm.
really to understand the message and the morals behind it. So if you're watching a certain clip and maybe you just happen to see, okay, the ugly side, which that's why I talk about the destroy to rebuild. If you're watching the destruction of other people, and we open all walks of life with different opinions, ideologies. So what you may say that is unpopular, I mean, we also welcome that as well too, because we're
Mm-hmm.
more focused on letting everybody share their opinions, but as long as you guys could kind of keep it respectful.
Yeah.
But when all you see is like people are yelling or disrespect coming to play, it does leave a certain impression that, oh, this must be a manosphere type of channel. And I always got to make it clear, we're not a manosphere type of channel. We talk about all things, you know whether if it's make it clear that the only thing we're focused on is for people. Yes, our content is not family friendly, of course, obviously. Um, and sometimes we get to heated moments where cursing is involved. But by the end of the day, the whole purpose is to like walk away feeling something, knowing
Mm-hmm.
something. And that's where you bridge into like knowledge and relationships as a whole.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
you
if it
know,
helps, I didn't come across anything that seemed negative or destructive when I was searching your content. So maybe it's a little buried by now underneath other stuff. But I saw some of the interviews that you did with some other ladies, and it was good. I don't necessarily like, I'm not opposed to disagreement
mhm,
or a little bit of the more edgy conversations. This is a grown folks conversation. We're talking about adult relationships. I think maybe
mhm,
young people and teens could learn, but I mean, some of the language is probably not for kids. Um, but you have to be, I think once you're in the relationship space, and especially for me as a woman who works predominantly with men, I have to
mhm,
have a thick skin, and anytime we're talking about relationships, and honestly, anytime we're talking about the way that men are negatively impacted by relationships with women, you have to have a thick skin because people are not open to hearing these conversations and to having them in a meaningful way. You know, the fact is that men are really struggling in relationships nowadays with women because um, they're not allowed to be able to express what they really feel and what they really think. You know,
mhm.
society doesn't make it easy for men to emotionally express what's going on inside of them. Which is
I
why
think
I
the
think it's
over. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Coach Rihanna.
no, just saying. That's why I think it's important to be able to have spaces like this where you can have conversations like that, and people can take it
Okay.
or leave it. Quite honestly, I'm not for everyone. This show's not for everyone, and honestly, that's
Mhm.
okay. That's okay.
I understand.
I
Oh,
think
go ahead.
overall, I think that I think overall, I think it's both men and women both kind of feel like they have to have a leg up on each other. It's
Mm.
no longer where we're building community. It's no longer where we're building family. It's well, I have this, and well, I have that. Well, I'm a high value man. Well, I'm a woman and I have a PhD and I own a business. It's all these things that don't matter. You know what I mean, it's not gonna matter because when we're living together one on one, and I wake up and you smell my breath and I smell yours, and we gotta really live life and we gotta really pay these bills, we gotta really raise these kids.
Yeah.
All that other stuff ain't gonna matter. You know what I mean? When one of us lose a parent, or when both of us lose a parent, and we got to really deal with life and really feel that pain. That PhD ain't gonna help us. That Maybach outside ain't gonna help us. It ain't gonna help us. We can take a vacation, but we can't bring the people that we care about back. You know what I mean? So all those things that we're going after, they're not gonna take up for when life really hits you. Because there's certain things that money cannot buy or solve, no matter how much of it you have. It can make you more comfortable at times. You know what I mean? You can have a sense of comfort, but that doesn't mean that pain goes away. You're just comfortable through your pain, right? Okay, I ain't sleeping on a garbage can. That's cool, but still, my son has autism, and I don't know how to deal with it. And yes, I make over six figures, but he has autism. And not only that, my other child, you know, has they have allergic reactions to certain things, and after about this expensive medicine, and it's costing me a lot, and they can't eat certain things, and then because they can't eat certain things, they have low self esteem, and they don't feel as important as the other kids. So I got to deal with that. So life is going to hit you, and when life hits you, them dollar signs ain't gonna matter. They're not gonna matter. What's gonna matter is somebody gonna really be there when that life hits you. And are you going to have a strong unit of people that really love and care about you when life hits you? Because life is going to hit you. Life has no favoritism. It does not. It has no favoritism, and it affects everybody. You know what I mean? There's a scripture in the Word that says, for those who believe in the Word, and I'm not opposed to any scriptures or any verse in the Quran or anybody who's Buddhist, anything. I'm just giving you just a quotation of that. It says, "Rain falls on the righteous and the wicked." So the rain is going to fall on you. Good times and hard times are going to fall on all of us. It's just a matter of life. You can be healthy, eating everything right, doing everything right, and you still have cancer. And you're like, man, I done ate all the fruits and veggies, I done drunk all the water. What happened? What happened? And they tell you, man, you know what? Your dad had it, your granddad had it, your uncle had it. It's just hereditary, man. There's really nothing you can do. Damn. I did all that, and still ain't nothing I can do. You know what I mean? So when life hits you, it hits you, and you just have to have people there that really can be there. So that's what's gonna matter, and that's what we need to focus on. So men and women both stop getting to these quarrels and these arguments and getting mad because certain people want to find love other places, or some people only have a certain preference or whatever. If somebody's not for you, they're not for you. Trust me, you don't want to be with them anyway. You don't want to be with them anyway. If you really peel back the layers of their life outside of what they look like, you're like, oh no, I'm good. I'm good. I don't want to deal with that. But you're not taking the time to really research who they are. You're just going based on what you look or that feeling they give you. But once you peel back the real layers of their life, once you see how they live like, that will let you know why they're not for you. Because everything happens for a reason. There's a reason why they're not for you. And once you really do your research and find out why, you'll be able to move on quickly and let that person go. That's all I gotta say.
Okay, okay. Well, man, with
Oh,
that,
one last thing. One last thing. One
hmm
last thing.
hmm
And stop holding on to people that are not for you and missing out on your blessings. Because
hmm
there is somebody there that is a blessing to you. You may even know who they are right now, and they are truly a blessing to you. And you've been trying to chase this one thing that has no type of anything good for you, but you want that one thing because of what it looked like or what it is or what it's that. Let go of that. I'm not telling you to settle for anybody, but what I'm telling you is that open your eyes and really see what's really there and who's really pouring into you. You know what I mean? And maybe they may not be that person, the person that's pouring into you. Maybe they're still not that person that you're looking for, right? But maybe they can help you in order to find that person. You know what I mean? Maybe they can help you in order to work on some things to be better. But a lot of times we ignore those who are really pouring into us, and we're chasing people who are not pouring anything into us at all because we want them to be there. It could be a parent, it could be anybody. That's all I gotta say.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Intellectual Soapbox. Well, with that being said, before I close out, Coach Oriana, if there's anything that you want to say before we close out, you could shout out like your
Well,
YouTube channel again. Okay.
absolutely. Yeah, I want to thank Mr. Intellectual Soapbox. So much wisdom he just shared there in, a minute or two. So, play that back because there is a lot of wisdom in there. There's a lot of feeling. There's a lot of sentiment behind that. And I thank you for sharing that with us because that's a lot of that is important. It made me think of this quote, and it says, "Tough times create strong men. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men. And weak men create tough times."
Wow.
Think about the state of humanity and the world that we're in right now. We're in a tough time, and it's going to get even tougher. Right? We need our strong men. We need men like these two men here who have this kind of wisdom and who have the courage to have these kinds of conversations. Right now, 2022, it has never, ever, ever been more important in the history of humanity, in the history of your life, for anybody watching this, to focus on your relationships, to focus on relationship building with good people, with strong masculine men who can create good times for us again, right? If you're a man watching, your goal is to pursue excellence to become that so that you can attract a good woman who can be in support of that, right? So remember that, right? Tough times are coming. We need our strong men. We need men who can talk about these issues. We need men who care about relationships and building families. The nuclear family unit is the only thing that can restore humanity again. Bring back fathers in homes, raising their kids with their families. Let's normalize that again. Right.
And Coach Ariana, if you could stick around after we close, just for a few minutes, you know what I mean? That'll be great if you can.
Yeah.
Okay.
My pleasure. Thank you, guys.
No, thank you. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Man, just on the record, man, I still have more questions, but right now, I mean, this is helpful enough. Sometimes, you have to have like another type of conversation at a different day, different time to continue this through, because every time when you speak, Coach Oriana, it just makes me want to ask you more questions, the nuclear families and all that. But we'll say that for another time. We'll talk about a little bit more backstage, and I promise we won't hold you up. Okay. Forever Lisa says, thanks, Coach Oriana and Intellectual Soapbox, for your great input. She also says, thanks, KNR, for a great discussion tonight. Just want to say you guys are absolutely welcome. More credit goes towards Coach Oriana. Also, I posted her website too, so I thought it was going to turn into a clickable link, but it's really easy. www.coachoriana.com. Check out her website. Your website also opens like consultations, right? Okay. So if you ever need of a consultation, check out her website. And then also, if you want to dig in deep as far as social media that will lead to the Edgy Entrepreneur YouTube channel, just follow her IG. her IG link is posted under the description. So you'll definitely see that after the live stream. And she says, I will definitely give you all a shout out on my channel. Well, definitely thank you as well. And shout outs to you and yours. You know, big shout outs for Lisa. Thank you for tuning in from the beginning to the end. Your comments was definitely welcoming and very appreciated. All right. So with that being said, you know, the always the sad part is when we have to depart and say goodnight to our viewers. So until next time, everyone. Oh, and then who else to say? Oh, yes, definitely salute. Until next time, please make sure you guys subscribe to our YouTube channel, like, comment, share the videos. But also, it also helps when you comment after the show because it helps boost up the algorithm. Anyways, let me stop talking because I don't want to go too long. But anyway, thank you everybody for your help. And I'm trying to find the outro so I can play. I always get stuck because there's so much we have. Okay. All right, everybody. Peace out.
Later, y'all. Much love.
Knowledge and relationships.